Hi, kids. Let's get this over with, for Christ's sake. Yeah? Yeah. Hey, I wake up, I check my calf today. Not my baby cow, my actual calf on my leg. I didn't check it. I got out of the shower, and I'm, drying myself off, and I see a little ring on my right calf. Here we go again. Remember the tick scare I had last year? Well, I see a little ring on my right calf, and it's kind of raised a bit. Don't know yet. Got to keep an eye on it. I'm hoping it's just some type of fungus I got from my yoga mat. That's a joke every time you hear that noise. So I don't know. It's a tiny. I got to keep an eye on it. And I go walking through this. They have this nature reserve up by my house. And it's my favorite place on earth. I told my wife I want to be buried there. I know she's going to throw my body in the woods behind the tool shed. But I want to be buried by this lake in this reservation. I'm a little bit of a hippie. I just love it. It's so peaceful out there. I walk around the lake, and there's trails off the lake. I actually get lost on Friday, I think it was, in the woods for about a half hour. Never even panicked. I was just so miserable. I was hoping a lion, not a lion, I mean a fucking a lion. Those are all being killed by doctors. I was hoping a black bear would come out of nowhere and just come up from behind and just knock my head off my shoulders with a right hook. They can do that. They're that strong. Or just bite into my neck. I want to go out like Brad Pitt in Legends of the Fall, going toe-to-toe with a 10-foot grizzly. But, yeah, I can't even find my way around a trail that's marked. I'd last about 3 minutes in the wilderness. But I'm just wondering if that's where, again, I don't even know if this is a tick bite, but it's fucking, I was just like, it was perfectly round. Maybe it's ringworm, like I said, some type of fungus you get from a sweaty T-shirt or some shit. Let's keep our fingers crossed. That is. I know it ain't an STD, I'll tell you that much. Remember those days? Chlamydia was my STD of choice. That was big back in the 80s. Every hairdresser from Somerville, Mass. Had it, apparently. Those are the ones I went after, the chicks with the pumps and the 11-foot hairdos, and they had it all, they had a hairspray on. You bump into them, a piece of their hair would break off like an old lady's fucking hip. Those are the ones I liked. And they were cute, though. A lot of makeup and shit, really cheesy looking with a shitty accent. Get a couple of Long Island iced teas in them. Get them out on the dance floor and then, just accidentally bump into them on their 6-foot heels and they tip over. Like knocking over tombstones. And then you get them back to the apartment and they get you back by giving you some fucking disease they picked up from some greaseball from Revere. Anyways, how are you folks? Great to be with you. Excuse me. I don't know what to... I try to prepare for these goddamn podcasts, and I don't like to get too heavy, because a lot of you are whiners out there, but a lot of you, I get mixed feedback going, hey, no, stay with the political shit, keep Matt Reese off the show, who I love, by the way. Look, Joe's a good guy. He's a better guest when his medication is adjusted properly, It's like a homeless guy when they attack people because they haven't taken their meds. But there's people out there who love it when I have them on, and people say, just do it solo. Whatever. Either way, we'll do a little of both. But here I am flying solo. Went to see Colin Quinn's... let me get the plugs out of the way first. This month, the 21st, I think it's a Friday night. Don't quote me on that. I could open my book, but that would take fucking energy, me bending over. Hold over. Hold on a second, right here. The 21st of this month, I'll be at the Music Fest. That's the name of the joint, by the way, in Bethlehem, PA. I did it before. It's a great gig. It's a nice big room. Yeah, it's a Friday night. So if you're a corn farmer or Amish and you're in the area, it's a type of gig. I go by 3 alpaca farms on the way to the fucking gig in my car. It really isn't that close to showbiz when you think about it. Motherless fucks. And then Laugh Boston in September. It's a good gig. It's in a nice hotel. 17, 18, and 19 of September. I'll be at Laugh Boston. 25th and 26th, Governors. One of my favorite clubs in, you know where. Somewhere on Long Island. Levittown. Great gig. October 17th, the Gramercy Theater here in New York City. That's enough. I'm not going to give out anymore. You know I'm busy. Yeah, right. What else? NickDiPaolo.com, NickDip.com. Get Another Senseless Killing. Use the radio code Nick, $3 off. And it's still in and out of the charts on iTunes. That means it's still selling quite well, thanks to you folks. And I get an email from my manager, you know, the magazine Hustler, you know, contacted me, I don't know, back in February, you know, to do an article on me so we could push the new album, Another Senseless Kill. They're just getting back to me now. They had a problem with the pictures I sent them. They weren't high res enough. Again, this was literally 3-4 months ago when I needed their help. Now the thing, I think it's coming out in November. Oh, Jesus H. Anyway, I mean, I appreciate the pub, but come on. Get your shit together over there. They did an article on me a few years ago. It's very nice. Like Hustler. Remember when you were a kid? Now you go online, you can see everything. You're desensitized, you know. You see a lady blowing 3 donkeys in a tool shed. You don't even blink, you know. There's actually a category for that. But Hustler was like, you know, when you get bored with Playboy, you're like, I want to see the inside of a pussy. I'm sick of looking at the outside. And then Hustler came out. Tremendous. It's a dangerous situation. Anyways, God damn it, I gotta stop smoking. You think it's wrong that I have like a couple cigarettes before I work out? Kind of stupid, isn't it? I'm doing Shanti's, you know, stay focused. You got to stay focused. And then I wonder, I can't keep up with them. Spitting up Blue Point oysters. I'm all over the place. I get coffee ripping through me here. And anyways, what did I do over the weekend? Last night, me and the wife, we don't do much together, I can be honest with you. She's happy upstairs reading. I'm downstairs watching the Sox lose their 10th in a row. But we went in to see our buddy Colin Quinn's New York Story. Is that the name of it, please? How can you go see a play and not fucking know? He's one of your best friends in the business. But at the Cherry Lane Theater in New York, which is on a sweet little street, Commerce Street, 38 Commerce Street, New York City. It's this tree-lined, sweet little street. And the Cherry Lane Theater is this gorgeous, this intimate theater. Just a fucking awesome setting to do something. I'll be doing something in that theater. A play called The Mouse That Roared. Either that or Gals, excuse me. But we went to see Quinn. And again, I told you about the book, the coloring book, you know. A comedian solves race relations in America, his book, which is fucking hilarious. And the one-man show is based on the book. And nobody knows, that, you know, it's about him in Brooklyn and how it's just Quinn, that only the way Quinn could do it, his take on New York when he was growing up in Brooklyn and the ethnicities and the diversity. And basically the whole theme is that, you know, that today we say celebrate diversity. We do it without talking about diversity. Celebrate diversity without pointing out our differences, which is something he said on Tough Crowd, which I thought was one of the greatest lines ever. And this is basically what the book and the play is about. But you got to go see it. It's just, you know, an hour plus of his take on ethnicities. Only just a smart, funny. I mean, even this woman in the Post, who's very usually liberal in her critiques of plays, you know, gave him 3 stars, and because it's so smart and funny. And are you going, well, you're being biased because he's your friend? No, you know how he is. He's just, he knows that world, and he's very eloquent, even though he mumbles. We know that. But yeah, it was nice. Drove in, got there a little early, had dinner, walked around, and that city, boy, the odors come alive when it's 98 degrees on the sidewalk. Me and my wife spent like 8 minutes standing in the street corner going, is that human shit or fresh Parmesan cheese? I swear to God, we couldn't tell if it was homeless sneakers or nice Parmesan Reggiano. Well, I'm not shitting you. You go another 3 feet, you'd smell piss, and it's just... I lived there for years, and that part I don't miss, you know? But I suggest you go see it, kids. Seriously. If you like the tough crowd, it's not as politically incorrect, obviously, but, it hits on the same stuff. And he breaks down why we can't talk about it and how we're digressing. And talks about the people he went to school with. And just friggin' nonstop laughter. I recommend it highly. Who am I, fucking Rex Reed?
When I fucking smash his fucking face in.
Anyways. Oh, yeah. And over the weekend, I gave you that recommendation about the documentary, the 7-5. I want to update you on that. The other day, I'm sitting in front of a hotel about to go in to do Marc Maron's podcast. He was in the city. And I'm sitting across the street. I was a little early, and I checked my tweets, and I get a tweet from none other than the Michael Dowd himself, the cop that's in, that the documentary is about, the 7-5, the dirty cop and his buddy Ken Aurelio, who also tweeted me. So I'm not sure who even tweeted me first. It might have been Kenny. I don't know. But long story short, I think I'm going to have Mike on the show. Maybe Kenny if I get back to him too. But I know Mike wants to do it. It's just a matter of us getting our schedules together. So I'm going to get back to him this week, and he could be a guest. That's right. His name isn't Joe. We're breaking the rules. How cool would that be, though? You guys, you got to watch the documentary, if you want to enjoy when I have him on. There's no way that's not going to be interesting. So I'll let you know. But that looks like it's going to happen. It's sooner than later, I think. So it's up to me. I got to get back to him. I just have to arrange my schedule. I'm running around a little bit. But excuse me, on the subject of documentaries, me and the wife watched a documentary that you guys, if you're into documentaries, even if you're not, you might have already seen this because it came out about 5 or 6 years ago. And it's about a hillbilly family in West Virginia, the wild, wonderful Whites. Their last name is Whites. Of West Virginia. You guys have probably already seen it. I know Jay Okerson and Dan Soder were talking about it on their radio show on Sirius. That's how I heard about it. And it was as goddamn compelling as the 7-5 documentary, only in its, in a different way, obviously. But you have never seen backwards Appalachian white trash, entertaining, interesting. Johnny Knoxville's company did it. They did the movie. And they spent like a year and a half with his family. And, well, let me play the trailer for you. You might have seen it already. But for those of you who haven't. That's me on piano. What did I do? Choose the wrong...
Can you tell me about the reputation of the White family in Boone County and West Virginia?
I'd really rather not comment on that.
When you represent the whites, you don't know what you're going to get into. Shootings,
armed robbery, embezzlement, forgery,
drug cases,
burglary, fights, things like that.
I thought I edited this. Bear with me.
I enjoy killing people, cutting them up, shooting them. I can't stop killing you.
I chop a symbol up and throw him in a damn mine shaft up in a garbage bag. I got 3 mine shafts up his house.
That's a woman, by the way. It's the mother.
Well, I used to be water in the back. I used to try a little coke here and there.
That's a woman, too.
Smoked a little crack.
Right here, listen. You want to hear the Boone County mating call?
Prescription pills. That last woman you heard talking, it sounded just like a man, was supposedly a stripper from the White family, who's more manly than Bruce Jenner when he was Bruce Jenner. But it's a woman, and she actually brags that she's the best piece of ass in West Virginia. You got to see it to believe it.
Now
sound like if you started some with me, it would be I'd fight you.
I'd fight you if you started some shit.
It was one hell of a night. I just went on a rampage pretty much.
That's Brandon, who's doing 50 years in prison. He was going to trade a truck. I can't remember what the he's going to trade a gun for a truck, and the guy wasn't going to give him the truck. And then they got on the phone with each other, and the guy said, "Yeah, why don't you come over here and fucking whatever?" So Brandon gets his gun and goes over there and shoots a guy in the face, blows his jaw off, shoots him in the neck and somewhere else. And the guy survives to tell about it. I think it's Billy.
I said, Brandon, what are you going to do, shoot me?
That was the guy he shot. He's still alive, by the way.
It's just strange how everything had happened in our family.
That's Resco or Jesco, I can't remember.
It seems like our lives has just been a party. And we're just living.
This guy talking is world famous. His dad or granddad, I don't have the family tree straight, was like this guy used to tap dance. And then this guy carried on his legacy. And I guess famous country singers now have actually referenced this guy. Is it Jesco? I think it's... doesn't matter. But they reference him in their songs. He's the most famous Appalachian. He's like the Elvis of the Appalachian of the backward sticks.
Like as a story.
At your funeral, what do you want people to do?
Rock and roll, baby.
That's a woman too, by the way. Anyways, you get the, I'm telling you, it's the Wild, Wonderful Whites of West Virginia. Watch that one and tell me what you think. Holy Christ, I couldn't take my eyes off the TV. Man, I thought I had seen white trash before, but holy smokes. Just unbelievable. And they're just violent, and they're all on, they're snorting coke, and a lady has a baby, and they take it away right at the hospital, you know. She comes to, and the baby already taken away by Child Protective Services, and she's crying. 2 minutes later, she's snorting a couple lines of coke off the top of a toilet in some shitty bar. Oh, you got to feel for these people. Just exploited by, you know. It's coal mining country, and they refuse to be exploited by, like, big, you know, companies and shit. But I think you're better off dying in a coal mine than what they're going through. So they followed them for like a year and a half, and there was more tragedy and shit. You're going to be belly laughing, though. I've never seen anything like it. But, yeah, get a hold of that one. And the 7.5, like I said, hopefully we're going to have Michael Dowd in here. Let me play that clip again, the trailer for the 7.5 you guys didn't hear last week's show.
New York is in the grips of a crime wave.
It was like the heyday of crack.
It was violent, man.
Homicides, robberies, rapes. It was a war zone.
East New York, Brooklyn, 7.5 precinct, the deadliest precinct in the country. Who did I burn to get put here? It would scare Clint Eastwood.
When I first went to the precinct, I hear about this guy, Mike Dowd.
Mikey's just crazy.
Michael Dowd was a crook who ended up wearing a cop's uniform.
He was a criminal.
Once in a generation, corrupt cop.
I consider myself both a cop and a gangster.
Forget about Beverly Hills and all that other stuff. The ghetto is one of the richest neighborhoods there is.
Maybe there's some way we can make money from this.
La Compañía. It's a very serious Dominican gang.
$24,000 in our hands to talk.
Mike was of rain. Say no problem.
In his business, if you mess up, you got killed.
I'm a New York City cop. I'm taking a risk of going to jail for a long period of time. And you're going to short me a dime?
Stay tuned. He should be on the Nick DiPaolo podcast soon. I better check the Silverwood drawer when he leaves, huh? No, unbelievably interesting. You got to check that out, too, if you haven't seen it. Speaking of cops, we have the University of Cincinnati cop. And that shooting, God, things are just, it's like the 1960s in this country, isn't it? He's been charged with murder in the fatal shooting of an unarmed black man. And Officer Ray Tensing, he had a body camera on him. You guys have seen it. Anyways. I don't know what to say, man. I don't know what to say anymore. People on one side, try to oversimplify it by going, you shouldn't get killed because you didn't have a front license plate. And that's oversimplifying the situation because the cop's approaching the car, doesn't know what's going on, right? You got the body, ask the guy for his license, and, like 15 different times. I guess the guy's license has been suspended for life. That's what I read in the paper today. I don't know. But you don't want it to end in gunplay, obviously. But that's why you do what the cop says and not try to take off. And I'm not justifying what this cop did either. Let the facts play out, though, before we burn down the city or whatever. And, it's just, this is what I say. I always hear black guys, my friends, saying how, young black males are afraid of the cops. And you don't seem to act that way when you get pulled over. Just do what the fuck they say. And again, not trying to justify what this cop did either, but I'm just saying. You can't argue that point. None of this stuff would happen. And then figure it out. If you're pulled over, for no reason at all, there's courts for that. But don't try to take off. Because you don't know if the guy's trigger happy or not. And the cop himself doesn't know what he's approaching. Because we had a cop in Memphis, that I'll talk about in a few minutes, who got murdered. Pulling over a guy, turns out it was a dope deal. Guy had a little bit of dope in his car. Ends up getting out of the car, two guys. And end up killing a cop who was like an Iraq veteran. So, at the least, just do what the cop says at that point. But this shit will play out. And if this cop in Cincinnati is, and from looking at the footage, I don't see why there was why he shot. But unless you're there, right? So, unbelievable. But again, figures don't lie because, like I said, the cops have literally tens of millions of interactions a year that don't end up in gunplay. And more white guys were killed by cops by almost 2 to 1. Oh, way more than 2 to 1. There's actually 330 white guys last year as opposed to 130-something black guys. So it's not an epidemic. Okay? We've been through this before. Yeah, the guy, the officer in Memphis, Sean Bolton, he saw an illegally parked car on a Memphis street, pulls up in front of it, shines his spotlight, goes to approach the vehicle. He's confronted by a passenger, struggle ensues, and the cop shot multiple times. The car drives off, leaving him for dead. Apparently he had interrupted a drug transaction. They found a digital scale and a small baggie of marijuana were located inside the vehicle. And the police identified Tremaine Wilborn, 29, as a suspect. He's on the run, and he's armed and dangerous. So, less than 2 grams of marijuana, okay? So he probably, I wonder what else he had on his, but for you people who could just reflexively badmouth cops, like Ari Shafir's fans who are fucking, I'll get to that in a few minutes, just clueless, just reflexive political correctness. Talk about being ill-informed. They're shitting all over me. I got up this morning. I did Ari Shafir's podcast this week, and he just put it out like last night, and they're calling me uninformed. It's so funny. These most of them, I'm probably 20 years older than most of his fans, and they just, they get their fucking news from Yahoo News and bloggers on the internet and have been mind-fucked and don't even know it by the mainstream media their whole lives, don't even realize how their values and beliefs have been shaped, and they're going to tell me I'm uninformed. One guy in the tweet actually goes, Ari, why'd you have DiPaolo on? He's so ignorant when it comes to politics. You can do better than that. So according to that logic, and it's so typical, they call themselves libertarians. I don't know what they are. I said I'm not a conservative. I'm more libertarian. They get a kick out of that, right? And even though, I'm pro-gay marriage, pro-choice, whatever, they think I'm a conservative. That's how fucking foolish they are. But the guy goes, why would you have him on? You're better than that. So and this is so typical of fucking people, lefties, only Ari Shaffir should only have on people that have the same political bent as him. Isn't that open-minded, huh? Fucking idiots. Idiots! Ari Shaffir likes me, and I like him. And we probably are on different ends of the spectrum politically. But we can still, we still like each other. It's just so funny how the reflexive anger just for having me on. It's fucking priceless. They don't even know anything about me. Like I said, go ahead. Keep getting your fucking news from, salon.com or wherever the fuck. Talk about clueless. Anyways, and I had fun with Ari, actually. He's in an apartment over there in Alphabet City, and I had a meeting in Midtown, okay, which should be if literally in a perfect world, if there was no traffic, it would be about a 15-minute car drive. It took me an hour and 5 minutes. That's how broken New York City is since Mayor douchebag De Blasio took over. People are blocking the box, and it just doesn't work. Anyways, Bolton is I digress. 33. Years old. He's one of 19 officers killed nationwide this year by violent suspects. Yeah, he was a veteran too. Comes home to be murdered in this what's turning into a third world shithole, this country. Third time a Memphis officer has been killed in the past 4 years. The driver turned himself in. $10,000 reward for information leading to Wilborn's arrest. He is out on supervised release for a 6-year sentence. 10-year, 121 month sentence for robbery. Yeah, and I guess that's because our laws are too stringent, right, stupids? Yeah, we're too conservative. Let's build less prisons. Let's get rid of that stop and frisk, too, here in New York City. That's working out good. 19 shootings in Brooklyn this weekend alone. How's that working out for you guys? You're wrong about everything. That's the fucking truth of it. Anyways, back to the mugging. We'll ask Michael Dowd about that. That'll be interesting, his take on that. So you got the Cincinnati cop who was charged with murder. We'll see how that plays out, hopefully peacefully. And you got a Memphis cop who's dead. And the beat goes on. I don't know, just whatever color you are, when the cops pull you over, just do what they say, okay? Just do what they say. Just try that for us, just once. Could you? What's the latest on? What an interesting. We got the debates coming up, I guess Thursday on Fox, and it is kind of weird how they're doing it. They have they're using national polls to decide because there's 17 people running on the Republican side for president, so they use the national polls and they took the 10 highest that polled the best. They're going to be debating at prime time at 9 o'clock, and the balance of them are going to be doing a different debate at 5 in the afternoon, 5 or 6 or whatever. Oh, my God. But Trump is just crushing everybody right now in the polls. And again, I gave you my opinion on him. I don't know how he's successful. He's a great businessman, but he doesn't come across as that bright. This is way before he even got into politics. I would always hear him on TV and say to my wife, how is this guy a billionaire? He just doesn't sound that bright, but he has definitely touched a nerve. And people are just sick of the same horse shit. The same politicians and the fucking Hillary Clintons of the world that she won't even answer a question about the Keystone Pipeline. I'll let the president answer. Can you imagine that? Oh, a lot of balls on her. And, so there's going to be 2 debates. And Trump's is going to be the guy with the highest poll numbers gets center podium in the debate, so he's going to be center stage. This is going to it has to set ratings records. It has to, but he's going to be in the primetime one, obviously, and Ben Carson, the black neurosurgeon, and Huckabee, and Ted Cruz, and I don't know who else. It doesn't really matter because it's going to be the Trump show, and they're going to be and Jeb Bush, obviously, and Scott Walker. So, you know, I told you what John Kasich's guy said. They asked him about what it's going to be like with, doing a debate with Trump in it, and he said it's going to be like preparing mentally, a NASCAR guy preparing for the biggest race of his life, knowing one of the drivers out there is drunk, which I thought was hilarious. There's no way Kasich thought of that himself. By the way, John Kasich, they have in the debates in Ohio, which is his home state. He's not even going to make the primetime one. I think he's going to be in the 5 or 6 o'clock one. His poll numbers are, but he just jumped in a little while ago. And Bobby Jindal is struggling. I think he might get into the main one. Rick Perry, they're all on the cusp. But it's going to be a blast. And I got to tell you, Trump is making me just smile from ear to ear with his blunt. I don't give a shit. I don't think he's presidential. Well, he could be president. I'm just saying I don't... his unfavorables are very high. So, he's a rich white guy with a big mouth, which goes against everything in this country right now. Everybody, the mindset after 6.5 years of Obama is he's the devil. A rich white guy in a suit, he must have cheated. That's white privilege, isn't it? But they did a poll in New Mexico, and as far as Hispanic votes, Trump came in number one because he does employ thousands of Hispanics and stuff. And, he shouldn't have said that shit about McCain, and he was very sloppy with his comments on Mexico, even though he was talking about legal immigrants, in my opinion. But it just really is a breath of fresh air, and it's not a mystery. And these idiots, these career politicians still don't get. They're really like mumbling to themselves. They can't believe they're getting beat by this guy. That's because they've been so entrenched in Washington for years. And they have no idea how tired we are. The working class, just tired of when nothing gets done and they just politically correct horseshit just spills out of their mouth day after day and nothing gets done. And then this guy comes along. So at least he's brought some life to it. And, I'm very curious to see how he's going to act during the debates. And like I said, I'd go at him with the real policy questions because he can't be big on details right now, But it's not rocket science, He can always come back with a retort. Well, okay, how much have you got done as far as the pipeline goes? What have you done for border security? That's what he's going to say. He can say that to all these people that have been entrenched in Washington politics for years. Excuse me, pardon me, and I cannot wait for that fucker. I'll be working that night, but I'll record it, come home, and get my bowl of popcorn and my grape Kool-Aid with Absolute in it, and boy, will I have a party! Sure. So that's going to be a fucking blast. You got to admit, don't you think, folks? It's like politics. I mean, like politics. It's like sports, I should say. That's why I follow politics. It's a blast. Yeah. Oh, let me talk about... So, yeah, I did Ari Safir's podcast, and like I said, all his idiot fans, zinging me. They're not all idiots, by the way. I'm just saying. But somehow he brought up, we get on the gay subject, and Ari brings up Matthew Shepard. Remember that? The guy was tied against a fence post in Wyoming and beat to death and shit. And Ari brought that up, and I said, well, that wasn't the real story, it turns out. And, of course, somebody tweeted me, Nick DiPaolo doesn't know anything about the fucking... But it turns out Ari doesn't know anything. I know both sides of the story, and somebody, a gay guy wrote a book about this, okay? Stephen Jimenez, his name was, and he spent 13 years interviewing over 100 people that were connected to the case. And in his conclusion, the book's called The Book of Matt, Hidden Truths About the Murder of Matthew Shepard. And, the conclusion of the book is it wasn't a hate crime, but it was blamed on crystal meth, a drug that was flooding that area. And Matthew Shepard actually knew one of the guys that killed him. They had a sexual relationship. And, it wasn't this just three rednecks going into a bar and pulling a gay guy out and beating it. It's way more complicated. And Ari wasn't aware of any of this, so don't tell me I'm uninformed. So there's he was addicted to meth and to heroin, and he was being pimped alongside Aaron McKinney. That's one of the guys that killed him. They had occasional sexual encounters, and this has all been documented. So my point being is, Ari Shaffir and his fans telling me that I'm uninformed. I know both sides of the story at least. The journalist who wrote the book is gay. Why? What's he got in it? What's he going to get out of this? And And since then, John Stoltenberg, he's a gay rights activist who lived with feminist writer Andrea Dworkin until her death in 2005. He's a longtime supporter of the Laramie Project. That was a thing that came out of Matthew's death. There was a play that was done, and nationally they went around to teach, about what gay people do face, But anyways, John Stoltenberg, he's a gay rights activist, and he said this about the book. Keeping Matthew as the poster boy of gay hate crime and ignoring the full tragedy of his story has been the agenda of many gay movement leaders. Ignoring the tragedies of Matthew's life prior to his murder will do nothing to help other young men in our community who are sold for sex, ravaged by drugs, and generally exploited. They will remain invisible and lost. So he's backing up what this guy says in the book. Okay? Ted Henson is a former lover and long-term friend of Matthew's. The pair originally met when Matt was growing up in Saudi Arabia. Henson told me he believes that the book of Matt is nothing more than the truth. A former lover, okay, of Matthew Shepard said this. And that he was never certain that the murder was an anti-gay hate crime. So I'm just saying, Ari Shaffir fans, don't tell me I'm fucking uninformed when you only know one side of the story and I know both. None of us know what happened because we weren't there. But this has all been documented, okay? And by mostly gay people. The journalist is gay who wrote the book and interviews Matthew's, ex-lover. So anyways, whatever. I'm just saying. Don't tell me I'm the one who's informed. I can't even remember how we got on. I know Ari brought it up. I forget what the context was. What the hell else, kids? Oh, God. More hunting news out of Zimbabwe. Did we bring that up in the last one? I can't even remember if that had happened at that point with that stupid dentist from Minnesota. I think I had brought it up. But there has since been another American accused. Zimbabwe suspended the hunting of all its wildlife on Sunday as authorities revealed that they had a second wealthy American in the crosshairs for illegally killing a lion. Dr. Jan Kazimir Seski of Pennsylvania is accused of traveling to the African nation in April to hunt big cats in an area of Hawaiian national park where the predators are protected. With the new allegations, the 68-year-old gynecology oncologist, that's a vagina doctor and cancer doctor, for those of you who are retarded, joins despised dentist Walter James Palmer in the Hunter Hall of Fame. You all know about the dentist, and he's still hiding out, this dope. I'll never understand how you could shoot something like that. Again, I'm not against hunting and shit. I understand that. It's necessary, like killing deer and stuff, and to cull the herd. Even lions. Some experts have said there wouldn't be any lions left if they didn't cull the herd, but you don't shoot one that's on a, basically on a farm, and this Dr. Palmer lured it out by putting a dead animal carcass on the hood of a truck. That's how they lured out Cecil the Lion. And, that's real hunting. But I'm just saying, so this was another American. Authorities claim Seski, this is the second guy, an avid big game hunter with a medical practice in Pittsburgh, paid local guide headman Simbanda an undisclosed amount to help him track and kill the lion with a bow and arrow in April. Officials announced Sunday that Simbanda, that's a local guy, had been arrested and charged in connection with Seski's hunt. He is currently assisting police with their investigation. So, yeah, it's the second guy. That guy can't be a dentist anymore. You know, he's going to be like, yeah, are you still flossing? And his patient's like, are you still fucking shooting animals that are 13 years old just minding their own business? You jack off. And again, legitimate hunting is legitimate hunting, but this is horseshit. Thing has a collar on it, for Christ's sake. So, yeah, so there's a second American wanted in Zimbabwe has suspended the hunting of all wildlife for right now. And if that wasn't enough... And again, I used to, as a kid, I had a pellet gun. I used to shoot pheasants. I used to hunt pheasants. We had a field behind our house. I told you the story on one podcast. I woke up, a pheasant was making all kinds of racket. They were building a house next to our house, and there was a pheasant walking along the foundation and, you know, making a racket. They make some type of pheasant noise. I open up my window. I had a Daisy pellet / BB gun, air rifle. I open the window. I'm in my friggin' underwear. It's a cold morning. He's walking along the foundation, you know, doing that thing with his neck. And I'm like, I'll take a shot. I mean, it was, you know, the next lot over. It was pretty far away. Wouldn't you know, I hit the son of a bitch. I had to throw on a robe and go out there. And I told you, my grandmother ended up cooking it. Real fucking hillbillies. I'm like I'm worse than the whites of West Virginia. But, and my Uncle Bob is an avid hunter, you know, and I got my cousin Eric goes hunting. Every year he takes a trip to Idaho. He's in the woods for a couple weeks. And, but again, he uses strictly bow and arrow, and it's harder than you think to get a deer or whatever. But, this big game shit just seems too easy, doesn't it? I don't know. And it's fucking evil. I could never see that lion and go, yeah, I want to kill it. Again, I understand hunters. I'm not saying you're totally wrong, but in this case, there's another story today about this woman. The headlines was on a website. American Huntress sparks fury by posting selfie with dead giraffe in South Africa. An American Huntress has sparked fury, and so she puts a picture of herself with a corpse of a giraffe, also a warthog, kudu, and an impala during a trip to South Africa. She puts she puts up on her Facebook page or something. She posts a meme of Leonardo DiCaprio on her wall, accompanied by the message, to all the haters, stay tuned. You're going to have so much to be pissed off about. Her first showed her crouching over the prone form of a massive kudu, a kind of African antelope. The broad's kind of cute, too. I'd like to shoot her. I'd like to shoot her with a dart that has a roofie tip, then drag her into the dance hall. What? Later the same day, she posted several pictures of her with the corpse of an amazing old giraffe. What? She shot an old giraffe. How the fuck is that hunting? Same thing with people who hunt, moose. That's the other one that cracked me. People hunt moose. I don't know, you could walk up to a moose and sucker punch it, couldn't you? I know they're kind of dangerous, but how the fuck can you miss aiming at a moose with a rifle with a scope on it, or even a bow and arrow? It would be like trying to hit Hillary Clinton in the ass with a fucking lemon. Yeah, it's a picture of her. It says, next to a corpse of in quotes, an amazing old giraffe, she wrote. Such an amazing animal, ! I couldn't be any happier. My emotions after getting him was a feeling I will never forget. I did. Those two things don't go together to me. Go, look at that breathtaking animal. I want to kill it. You have something to chat about on Thanksgiving. What do you do with the giraffe? I mean, I understand you put a deer head above your fireplace. What the fuck are you going to do? Where do you put a giraffe's neck? It runs, what, through the kitchen into the living room? It's kind of sexy, women hunting. I kind of find that sexy, but not big game shit like this. Who couldn't fucking hit something like this? Am I missing the fucking... They hunt elephants, too? You know? How is that fucking hunting? It's like hitting a fat kid with a snowball. It's really easy to do. There's another picture of her with a warthog. That was a fraternity brother. His girlfriend's nickname was Warthog. I'm not kidding you when I was up at UMA. Not shitting you. Not a pretty chick. Her name is Miss Corgatelli, a university accountant who also runs a clothing company called Racks and Ridges. Yeah, I got a feeling somebody might be boycotting that this week. And then she put a picture of her boyfriend. His name is Aaron, with the body of a 13-foot crocodile. You know what's funny? I find as I get older, you know, like I said, as a kid, I shot a couple pheasants or whatever, and it was fun being out there, like on a cold day in the field or whatever. But as I got older, even now, like I don't know, even now, if there's like a moth, depends the mood I'm in. Sometimes I'll catch it in my hand and let it outside. As you get older and get closer, you realize your own mortality. You're not so quick to kill shit. Then again, if I'm in a bad mood and a moth lands next to me, I'll fucking put a cigarette out on his face. Depends the mood I'm in. But I don't know what my point is here, but I couldn't kill something like that. Not at this stage of life. You know? I know a few people I could put a fucking poison dart in their ass before I could do a warthog. I'm sure you feel the same way. But so they come out and they post all this shit right after all this, you know, controversy going on. And by the way, somebody made a good point, and it is valid. We can't, you know, people are so outraged about Cecil the Lion, and I understand that. It fucking outraged me too. But it really is funny how outraged they come over stuff like that, and they don't say, you know, boo about Planned Parenthood and Mugabe, the guy who fucking tortures and kills people in Zimbabwe. No cry over that for the last, I don't know how many years he's been doing that, but they go fucking hog wild. Hey. So I don't know what that Minnesota, this is the dentist, he's got to come out of hiding sometime. Really, we don't know where he is. They want to extradite him back to Zimbabwe, you know, which he's smart to hide out here, obviously. You don't want to go back to one of those, imagine one of those prisons, mamma mia. So, yeah, this chick is catching all kinds of heat. I kind of give her some, at least for balls, for believing in what she, but it's funny. People want to be famous. You know, she posts all that shit after all this went on. But Cecil, you know, the lion had a GPS collar on, for Christ's sake. It was being studied. That's the lion I'm talking about, the first one the dentist killed. It was being studied by Oxford University. Bunch of hunters obviously, you know, gave her a thumbs up on the pictures, and like I said, crazy ass, huh? What the hell else, kids? Quinn show. Maron's podcast, that was fun. He was in a hotel. I went out, you know, to L.A. a couple weeks ago and just missed Mark. And we go back to Boston, and that's what we talked about. There's no politics involved. He probably figured, and I figured, what's the gain from that? And as we sit on, you know, opposite ends of the spectrum. But, you know, it was great. We hadn't seen each other in a while. And we went over, you know, he was in Boston when I first started as a comic. I think he had just moved there too. And we started rehashing stories, and we started talking about a lot of the clubs we did. And what really not pissed me off, but I was surprised at how sharp his memory was. Suppose he had drug and alcohol problems, Maron, but he's a totally different person. There's a whole different energy about him than when I knew him, even when I knew him at the Comedy Cellar. And we started talking about when we started out in Boston and all the one-nighters. And this guy could remember, like, at least 5 one-nighters. He could remember the names of the places and where they were. And it would just surprise the hell out of me. And, yeah, we did a lot of... We just talked about comedy. And we talked about how, you know, I started off as one type of comic. Then I got a little bit political. I'm never really... But, again, in this business... if your politics are a little to the right, it kicks up quite a bunch of dust, like you're really controversial. But we talked about that and how I got more opinionated or whatever, and we talked about meltdowns that I was, I'd have on stage, stuff that you guys have heard before. But and I told them a lot of it, was alcohol fueled. The many nights I had meltdowns at the Comedy Cellar, I look back on them, and it always involved me drinking beforehand, and not a lot. But you do this after you do this for so long, you get kind of bored, And the bar is right there, and it changes some people, not everybody, but it changes your personality. So there were nights when on not some of my better nights, when I got into it with the audience or whatever, and that happened many times at the Comedy Cellar. I've been playing there forever. And I look back on most of those, 95% of those nights, I had a few in me before I went on. For whatever reason, And we talked about all that, and we talked about Barry Katz, my first manager. I don't know if Mark worked with him or not, but he booked all the clubs, all the restaurants and pubs that were doing comedy in New England in the late 80s, and we talked about him and my relationship with Barry and how I met him and how I get pissed at Dana Gould one night before I knew Dana, who was one of my favorite comics, believe it or not. But we told some great stories, and a lot of the stories in the clubs that we talked about were you can see in that documentary, which I've mentioned before on this podcast, when Stand Up Stood Out, done by a comedian named Fran Salamita. It's about the Boston comedy scene from like 1978 to the mid-'80s, and it covers a lot of the clubs. The very first club I told my first joke at, Stitches, and Maron knows all these places because we played them together, and we talked about me and him going up to Maine to Captain Nick's and a Gunkwit, and it was all rehashing of great comedy stories, and it went by really fast. And like I said, it seems to suit him, Mark, his success. He's like I said years ago, we both had this black cloud. If me and him came into the Comedy Cellar and sat at the table, it would start raining inside, I swear to God. People would just leave the table. There was so much negativity, but you don't. Again, I mean, you got to get a little love back from the industry, I guess, before, you got to. It's like an abused child. If nobody gives you any love back, you're just going to stay on that whatever. But, so I did his and Ari's, and I don't know when Mark's going to release that one. We don't know that yet, but he said he's going to let me know very shortly. And it was it was 90 minutes, I think, and it went by, like I said, like nothing. So, look for that. I'll let you know when that comes out. And like I said, hopefully I'll get Michael Dowd in here, who is the centerpiece of the documentary, The 7-5, about two dirty cops in the 75th Precinct in East New York back in the late 70s, 80s, when it was literally the most violent precinct in the country because of crack, cocaine, all of it. And he was right in the middle of it, and that documentary is fascinating, so we're going to get him in here. And Planned Parenthood, they've released more of those things, whatever. It's just, that's ghoulish, too. And again, I'm no pro-lifer, because when I was younger, like I said, I was happy there were Planned Parenthoods around. But what's going on there with those videos and, harvesting organs from whether it's a fetus or a baby, whatever you decide. But I'm just saying it's pretty gruesome, and that's going to be hard to defend. And why should taxpayers be funding that horse shit? That's about it. I'll let you know about the tick bite. That fucker. If I wake up tomorrow and it's like it'll be the size of a frisbee. Maybe nothing, though. I don't know. It's not clear yet. It's so funny. When I told Colin Quinn I was moving up here years ago, I used to go, "You're going to come up, right?" He goes, "Fuck that. I don't want a tick on my bowls," with that Brooklyn accent. And that actually happens to some people. But, yeah, I get naked before I get in the shower. I climb up on the sink. Check myself out in the mirror. So, anyways, what the hell else? Sports real quick. Tiger Woods shit the bed again in a golf tournament. He's finished. Even though he's finished and ranked 246 in the world, they still keep covering him. I mean, he was better this weekend than he has been in a year. He finished in the top 20 in some stupid tournament. Anyways, my Red Sox did nothing over the trade deadline. I thought they were going to, make a bunch of moves, but they're just going to let these young kids play out. They do have a core for a good team, just not this year, but that Xander Bogaerts at shortstop, he's hitting .320. He's a great shortstop. He looks unbelievable. He's grown so much in a year as offensively and defensively. Really, really impressive. And they got some good guys. Mookie Betts, these young guys. I don't know what they're going to do with my boy Napoli. And I love Mike Napoli, but he's been horrendous this year. And I guess he could still get traded. I don't understand how it works. I thought the trade deadline was like July 31st, but then you read in the paper, I don't get into that shit. I mean, you got to be a lawyer to follow sports now. It really bugs me. But, the president, Larry Lucchino, stepped down. He was there since 2000 or 2001. In 14 years, he brought us 3 championships. He's stepping down, and I guess he's playing this for a long time. A guy named Sam Kennedy, young guy's taking over in his place. And then you got the Yankees. I saw them at the beginning of this year. I'm like, boy, they're going to suck. Nobody knew. The whole American League East was up for grabs. And the Sox won their first 4 series, and the Yankees looked dog shit. And I go, this is going to be fun. And turns out the friggin' Yanks are kind of running away with the goddamn thing. Toronto Blue Jays made some big moves. They look like they're dead serious about, and I can't remember who they got, what the moves were, but they got a scary offense, and Troy Tulowitzki, did they get him? Was that Toronto? I can't remember. I think it was. I think he had a couple. He's already had 3 homers in 4 games. And the Mets got Cespedes. The Sox had him last year. And the goddamn Mets swept the Nats. I'm kind of a closet Mets fan. I mentioned that. They were. I hated them more than anybody, obviously, because I'm a Red Sox fan and what happened in '86. But then I moved to Queens. I told you the whole story. Kind of when Piazza was there, and it was only a couple train stops up the street. I used to go to the Shea Stadium, and kind of a closet Mets fan. And I like Terry Collins. I think he's a good manager. They got Giannis Cespedes, and they got a pitching staff. That Syndergaard throws smoke. Anyways, the Nats came to town. They were 3 games ahead of the Mets. Mets were in second. The Mets swept them. Friggin' Lucas Duda. Is that his first name? This guy has 9 home runs in his last 10 games, or 9 home runs in his last 8 games. Something crazy. At one point, his last 8 hits were home runs. And then the other night, I put it on. The Mets are down 2-0. He hits a homer, makes it 2-1. Comes up later in the game, hits another bomb, ties it up, and then later in the game, hits the game-winning RBI. Hits a double, drives in the game-winning run. This guy is fucking frightening when he's hot. So they swept the Nats. They're tied for first. You Mets fans, you have to be excited. They have been snake bitten. I think it's karma, man. After, Buckner, the ball going through his legs and all that shit, they would just... the gods were like, fuck them. They got lucky there. We're going to torture them for the next 20 years or so. So, who knows? Subway Series? Probably not, but you don't know. Anything can happen in the playoffs. But I'm dying to see what the Sox are going to do. I was all excited about the trade deadline. That's always fun to see. And they didn't even do anything there. They got no pitching. Joe Kelly has been in the minors for the last few months. They bring him up. He gets smacked around the other night. He still won. Thanks to, what's the kid's name? They brought up Travis Shaw, I think. This kid, third baseman. Had a couple homers, a single and a double. 4 for 4 for the Sox. He scored 5 runs, drove in 4. He's a lefty. He's got a beautiful swing. So, like I said, they got a bunch of young guys, but they got to get some pitching. Anyways, that's about it, kids. That's all I got. Yeah. I'm around in the city all week, I guess. Working on, working on this hour, trying to get it together. And Anthony Comia is moving his podcast from his house into the city starting tomorrow. He's in his new studio. I will be visiting that. So you might want to check that out. That'll be live. That's all I got to report, I guess. You guys got anything? I think that's it. I can't think of anything else. Uncle Junior? Nah. Anyways, I will talk to you next week. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. Comedy's the best. Go see Quinn's play. Go see me on the 21st of this month at the Music Fest in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. It's going to be a humdinger. Good day, everybody.